everyone, welcome back to GameSpot's 2017 year in review. We are going to be talking about PC, hardware, software, and games and everything in between here. I'm here with Jimmy Thang.
Yo.
Michael Hyam.
Hi.
And I'm Mike Mahardy. Let's jump right into the games. We can start with one of the bigger exclusives. 10 out of 10 on GameSpot, Divinity Original Sin 2. Michael, did you get to spend a lot of time with this game? Which can be relative.
How much time you can spend with this game ranges from 100 to 1,000 hours. There's so much in this game. It's so dense. For me, I played this in a party of 4 with my friends back home. And I've only got to play about 20 hours of it, and we're still trying to unravel the layers in like the character creation and trying to build these characters and actually role-playing. This game, Divinity Original Sin 2, really puts the role-playing in role-playing game. With all the systems and dialogue and decisions you can make within these cities. It's the permutations are like almost infinite with this.
Yeah, it's like a throwback to the computer RPGs in the 90s, right? Like, or even like Baldur's Gate 2. People are saying this is the successor to what people always call like one of the best RPGs, if not the best. On the other side of the spectrum, though, there's PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. All 3 of us played it, but Jimmy, what's your take on this game that became this behemoth, to say the least, this year?
Yeah, sure. This is actually my first Battle Royale game.
Okay.
And Michael and I were talking about it before, so to me it feels really fresh. And I always thought for the longest time that like playing a multiplayer game, I wouldn't be able to get scared in a multiplayer game. But I feel like PUBG is actually kind of like a horror game to me, at least.
It's tense as hell.
Like playing it solo individually, I mean, it scares the crap out of me when like somebody sneaks up behind me. So like after a long session, like a 15-20 minute session where I'm like top 10 or whatever, and then I get killed, I'm like shaking afterwards. I don't get the shakes. I don't know if you guys experience that.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know how many chicken dinners I have at this point, like 56 or something.
Okay.
And obviously we're not the only ones that like it. It broke 20 million in sales units back in like September, October, and it's only more than that now. Concurrent users, like Steam, you were saying it's the #1 game.
Yeah, most played game,
surpassing
Dota.
It's fun to watch like when people are streaming it, to say the least. But I also want to talk about a few others before we get to back to the hardware. Doki Doki Literature Club just came out yesterday.
No. That game has been out since I think October. Sorry, I can't get the release date right, but I played it a couple weeks ago.
A visual novel, right?
It's a visual novel, and I think that, when you go on Steam, there's so many visual novels on there that it's almost ridiculous. But this one truly stands out in the way not only it portrays like anime character tropes, but how it uses those tropes and those character models to tell a very horrifying story. I don't want to get into the weeds of it, and I don't want to talk about spoilers because this is something you should really jump into without any prior knowledge of like what happens in it. But all I really I wanted to highlight it because it's a step forward in visual novels. It's something very different, and I think that what it does for the horror genre is something special. I mean, I know you're very much into horror stuff, so I would be curious to see what you have to say about it. But for me, like when it comes to games like jump scares, whatever, zombies, whatever, but something that really messes with your head is something special to me, and that's what really gets me. And this game does it really well.
Another PC exclusive I've been playing all year, and I won't talk about it too much because I know I could, but XCOM 2's War of the Chosen expansion, as any Firaxis expansion, whether it's Civilization or XCOM or anything Sid Meier has his name on, it reworks the base game, just makes it even better. I think like if we were considering it a game, I think XCOM 2 War of the Chosen is my favorite thing that happened this year. I do want to talk about ports. Jimmy, did you play Destiny 2 on PC?
I did.
Yeah.
I mean,
or you probably still are.
So I actually didn't play Destiny 1 because I was on the consoles and primarily a PC gamer.
Yeah.
Gotta admit. And the port's really good. I mean, I know Michael, you've done a lot of testing on it. It runs really well, looks great. And I can't really complain about the actual quality of the port too much.
Came to Battle.net?
So it was released on Battle.net. Now it's part of that Blizzard ecosystem, which is pretty crazy. But it makes sense. Like what other service would it live on, given that Activision is a publisher? But I mean, for me, I think I'll reserve my own personal opinion of Destiny 2, but from a technical perspective, I have a fairly mid-range PC. It's pretty old at this point. I'm running it on GTX 970, which is a previous generation mid-range card, and I can run that game, at 1080p resolution, everything cranked to high, and I'm getting consistent 60 frames and up on that game, and it looks great. It's, even if you're looking out into the vast vistas or whatever with these graphic settings cranked up, it looks great. It runs well.
Keyboard and mouse support.
Keyboard and mouse support
Really
is
good,
on point, and I can't go back to consoles like with a controller.
Sure.
Any shooter, I have to play with keyboard and mouse, and that game is on point from a technical perspective.
As far as other ports go, we had Forza 7, which looked amazing.
Yep.
We had Resident Evil 7, again, which was one of my favorite games of the year. We also had Neo, which came a little bit after its PS4 debut, but there were a few bad ports. There was the Nier Automata was not super optimized. Michael, did you get the chance to check that out?
Yeah, so I got the chance to try out the the PC version of Nier Automata, and then I went to the PS4 version because there was a lot of things broken about the PC version, and it still hasn't been patched to this day. I had some sound issues. The controls were, I think the controller support was broken as well. Frame rate drops, blank screens, and crashes. Damn. And it's just like all these little things adding up, and I wouldn't want to play this on PC, which is unfortunate because when I did see the entire game through on PS4, it is one of my favorite games of the year. Cool. And I really, really love what Yoko Taro and Platinum did with that game. It's very special to me. Yeah. But if you do want to play it, make sure you get the PS4 version at this point because the PC version is still not patched.
Jimmy, did you get the chance to play Prey at all this year?
I did.
Okay, because that also had some game-breaking issues at launch on PC as well. It's one of my favorite games, but that was also a little bit broken on PC. But so those are the games pretty much. That's not all of them, obviously, but that's not the exhaustive list. But I do want to move on to hardware. Yep. Was it a big year for hardware in the PC space, Jimmy?
Yeah, I would say so, especially in the CPU space. We got like a bunch of new CPUs from AMD, and then like one sort of new consumer flagship from Intel as well.
Yeah, so I did a lot of the CPU reviews this year. Okay. I got AMD's Ryzen series. I tested all of them. And the thing that's special about AMD CPUs in terms of gaming is that they're offering more CPU cores for less money. Like before, I think if you wanted an 8-core CPU, you would have to shell out almost $1,000 to get that. Oh. Now we're seeing about like $300 for an 8-core CPU. Sure. And what that means is that games don't usually utilize that many cores for the CPU. Maybe they would use 4 at max, but what that allows you to do is do other tasks alongside gaming. Streaming. Yeah, you can stream off of one computer now, like super efficiently without having frame drops because you don't have enough processing power. And that was really important for PC gaming. And then that also, with AMD coming back and being competitive, because they weren't competitive in previous years in the CPU market. So that kind of, in a way, pushes Intel to, do something new. And they did. They came out with the Core i5 and i7s and the i3s for the 8th generation, and they added 2 extra CPU cores to each one of those. So in a way, Intel is also being pushed to add more value for their CPUs. And then, who wins? Everyone who builds PCs, because we're getting more performance for a dollar.
I think it's an example of competition is good for the market, especially in the CPU space. There were some new GPUs as well from AMD, like the RX Vega 64 and 56.
Yeah, and you reviewed those.
Right, those are I would say mid to high-end cards. But they're really hard to get right now because of the cryptocurrency craze, which is driving up all the prices on video cards in general. So, I get the question a lot, is now a good time to upgrade to a PC or build a PC? And I would say yes, with the exception of probably RAM and the video cards, because the prices on those are pretty crazy.
Yeah, the cryptocurrency craze and how it relates to video cards is wild this year, man. It's you can, for a very long time, you couldn't get a video card for MSRP, which is unfortunate for people who want to build PCs or upgrade. And I don't want to get into the weeds of what the cryptocurrency thing was, but the fact of the matter is that for PC gamers, it's that oh man, I'm gonna wait out until the prices either go back to normal or drop for a new generation. Sure. So that was a little weird, and I think that was a big story as it relates to PC gaming.
We are talking about VR separately in another video, but as far as the PC, Oculus Rift, HTC Vive VR platforms go, Jimmy, what kind of year was it for them on PC?
So I would say that for the Rift, you had like steady growth. I would say nothing spectacular, but solid all around. And I would say that like coming into 2017, the Vive had the momentum and it kind of lost a little bit of that. Both HTC and Valve didn't really do that much in 2017, but we can talk more about that.
Yeah, for sure. Overall, Michael, what are your general thoughts on PC platform in 2017?
I think that, at least from my perspective, I saw a lot more quality over quantity.
Okay.
So in terms of exclusives, the ones that stood out were PUBG, Divinity, and smaller things like Doki Doki Literature Club, and Total War Warhammer 2.
Really good RTS.
Yeah. But those are incredible games. I mean, we obviously like multi-platform stuff is going to come to PC as well, and I prefer to play them on PC. But PC specifically, those games are kind of like the standard bearers for what PC gaming means.
Sure. Jimmy, what about you? What's your take?
Yeah, I agree with Michael. I think we had, Divinity. I just started that. It seems really good. I'm still really early on. PUBG, I'm still having a blast at. And we got some, good ports mostly. So I would say it's a pretty good year for PC gaming.
So here's hoping it continues in 2018. That was PC's 2017 GameSpot Year in Review. Stay tuned. We'll be doing Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, and VR here in our studio. We'll see you then.